somebody has to take the lead in being the organizer. And if any one school district did it, then it's going to be what the 99 program, we're not going to participate. The township is overlaid on top of all of these districts. And it's perfectly situated, ideally situated, to facilitate the cooperation and the collaboration between the individual school districts. And that way, this won't be a 99 program, this won't be an 86 program, this won't be a 58 program, this will be a township program. And all of the school districts will come to the program as equals. And that way, then, that solves some problems that we all can then work together to get this stuff done. And we have in there, I'm not going to go into too much detail of what the calendar is going to be, basically 9 to 3 on one day, just to talk about whether there's more we can talk about in the future. You know, this isn't, and all we're really asking the township to commit to is to agree to be the official sponsor and provide us some of your wonderful staff assistance to help us send out emails and maybe draw things, but I don't see it being a huge burden or expense in that regard, because we can use email. We have a number of possible sources to cover all the out-of-pocket costs. You know, if we have to have breakfast or lunch, or we need to do expensive printing, we would not be asking the township to foot that bill. We can go to the educational foundations of all the school districts. We have access to private sponsors. I'll put a little bit of money. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do so that we really aren't coming to you for money. And we aren't coming to you for educational expertise. We're coming to you as the sort of overlay government that covers the entire region to help us facilitate cooperation and collaboration amongst all of the districts that are in this region. And then we talk about, you know, and then what will have to happen is once we, you know, assuming we see fit to grant approval, you know, basically myself and a member of the township staff would then we work to arrange an educator. We would find educators who would be responsible for the content. You know, who the speakers would be, what they would talk about. I've had conversations with Dr. McDonald, the superintendent of our district. He is very supportive, very supportive, strongly supportive of this idea. He and Judy Miner, the curriculum director, was going to be fully interested in helping us figure that out. Mrs. Boyle has spoken with Darlene Massetti at the regional office. She's very supportive. We received an email late this afternoon saying she regretted she couldn't be here, but she says go for it. She's definitely for this. She wants it to happen. I can talk more in a minute. I think there's a program somewhat a little different than this, but there's a program in Naperville at Meckler Valley. Mr. Hines actually was there. Was it today? Yesterday. He went there today. Yesterday to see a similar program. The regional office, Darlene Russetti's office, is a partner in that program. So we would be looking. I would be looking to lean very heavily on Darlene Russetti and the regional office and her assistant, Claudia Giorgaris, to guide us on how to get this done, along with the people from District 86, Westview Hills, in Margaret District 60 is looking to do things like this. We get them on board. We look to bring everybody on board in order to basically get together in November, talk for about 6 hours, share ideas, brainstorm, and figure out what partnerships we can create for the future. We're not asking the township for an open-ended commitment of any kind. The commitment is merely sponsored the conference. And if the idea is to spin off of that conference or things you're not comfortable with or more intensive than you want, you don't do it. But if we can persuade you later that these are good ideas, then you can later choose to go ahead. So we're not looking for an open-ended commitment. We're not looking for any cash outlay. We would be asking for some modest staff support, help us send some emails, we can send invitations on township stationery, you know, for example, and we can use emails, which will hold the cost down. And the idea then is to achieve these goals. Now, what we've done in our research is this is something that's happening all over the country. And they vary from relatively small to relatively large. And in the materials, I think I gave a link, a copy of what's happening in Napa Valley, and then I think it's Passaic Valley also in Aurora, Mr. Hines let me serve. And they are teaching physics middle school students to get them further along in the physics program. So there's a lot of exciting ideas that might follow on from this, but that's not what we're talking about for this fall. That's what we're talking about for down the road, much farther down the road. I think this is what we believe. What I believe is that this is a great opportunity also for the township, because you can act as a facilitator to help the local governments cooperate with each other and collaborate This map here, for example, has municipalities. So as we all know, there's sanitary districts, and there's school districts, and there's all kinds of other districts. And they're all cut up, and sometimes they don't necessarily talk to each other as well as they should. And part of your function can be to facilitate that happening, at least with the school district. We think that is something that Mr. Township is very relevant to 21st century and provide a very valuable service to all the citizens. It truly is a nominal cost, but it's not a long time. So maybe has any specific, any questions or concerns, or I'd ask my colleagues if I forgot anything. Did you want to cover? My one time. Again, he is a teacher at North High School, a science chair, but he is not here on behalf of Mr. Frank. I make that very clear.
Thank you for having us this evening, and thank you to Mr. White for bringing this up and spearheading this. I've lived in Downers Grove for 8 years. When I talk to people around the community here, I have a very invested feeling about this type of program. I've seen what it can do at a place like Niles, where they have more money than they know what to do with. They built a 3,000 square foot independent science research lab at both Niles West and Niles North. And you say, okay, not everybody can do that. Nobody has those resources. So I explained that to Mr. White, that this is something I would like to bring to the western suburbs. As we found out, and I'm new to the department chair for 20 years, that you have to put the pieces in place to make it sustainable and functional and effective and efficient. And I think that's what Mr. White has done by coming to you and saying, could you please be this liaison to help us collaborate with all the school districts, because that really will give us a chance to make this successful and sustainable. In what we do in the classroom, I had two goals coming in as the department chair at Downers North. My first goal was to open up lines of communication between myself and my teachers. And my second goal was to open up the classrooms for students. So many times we put them in rows and use four-wall containers and ring a bell and then move to the next four-wall container. And I want to bring experiential learning back into the science classroom. And this is one project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions?
Do you have a budget or an organizational chart in mind? And do you have an outline of a plan for the conference?
Well, we do. We have, it's very preliminary. I can describe it verbally. We have, there's different ideas too about who's going to be involved. Ideally, okay, the conference would be organized by the curriculum chair from District 86, Hinsdale Central, Hinsdale South, the curriculum chair, Dr. Judy Reiner, from District 99, the science chairs from North and South High School here in Downers, the science chairs from Hinsdale Central, Hinsdale South, Westview Hills, Marcus 60. It's going to be pretty informal because, you know, because we aren't really doing anything other than just inviting people. And then, I probably should have said this first, leaning very heavily on Darlene Mussetti and Claudia Ferris from the regional office to give us guidance, because they've been doing similar things elsewhere in the county. You know, and they really can't, you know, these are too big to, the county as a whole is too big to do a countywide project. They got to do them individually. Budget, basically invite people by email, maybe a few $100 for lunch. And if you know, depending on how many sponsors we get, it'll determine how well they eat. And that's really what it's going to boil down to. You know, if we get a lot of sponsors, we want a really nice breakfast. If we don't get a lot of sponsors, then that gets donuts and coffee. I mean, that's just going to be how that's going to work. There may be some printing costs. You know, I don't think we're planning any speaker fees. No, so we won't be paying speakers to come. You know, now as far as the conference itself, I know that Mike and Karen and I have talked about this. It's very preliminary. Well, actually not so preliminary. There's a potential keynote speaker who is a noted STEM expert. What is he? Excuse me?
Nationally.
Nationally, yeah, okay. And we would have to have him approved by all the various other people. And then we would have a discussion about what's happening. Well, first of all, one of the things that would be discussed is District 99, all on its own, in September, is meeting with the feeder districts, the senator districts, to talk about improving math education. And that's one topic. We have a panel of educators. We want somebody, we definitely want people from the township to come to talk about, you know, the township functions and the opportunity the township might be able to provide. Because the idea is to get the educators in the township to talk to each other. That's really the goal. Have a panel of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 people about how we can get the elementary schools and middle schools and the high schools to work together on making sure that the elementary students are ready for high school. I didn't mention this earlier. The Silicon Valley, there's an unbelievably excellent educational foundation with a multi-million-dollar budget. But they have Leap in Algebra, where they have an extended program to make sure that freshmen are ready for algebra. So that they're not just coming in cold. It's summer and they meet during the year. You know, so we're a long ways away from doing that. But there are things that we can do, the high school can do with, for example, juniors and seniors, who can then tutor. You know, just I met with about a month ago informally. Talked about the idea that we could create summer jobs for our seniors, you know, juniors and seniors, but people, honor students at North and South, or in any high school student, can be paid $12 an hour to tutor 6th, 7th, and 8th graders under the supervision of a qualified faculty member to make sure they can start high school caught up, jump-start into science, jump-start into algebra, and right now summer jobs for young people are so hard to find that you take some of your best students and you pay them, you know, a little bit more than minimum wage, but not a lot more, so that they can reach out to the younger students and improve the quality everywhere. And that can be a tax-deductible foundation. The parents can, we can have fundraisers to pay those salaries. You know, that's one possible idea. That we have an annual fundraiser, we raise money, and then we hire our own kids to teach our other kids how to do algebra. You know, and that's one possible idea that might come out of this. And how we organize that legally, I don't know yet. You know, but that's something that we would have to vet. That's down the road. But the idea is that we work with the top curriculum people in all the districts, you know, to arrange a program that go about 6 hours, feed them breakfast, feed them lunch. And as far as the budget, hopefully we get a free room. We'll try very hard to get a free room somewhere. Maybe get some free printing somewhere. If not, okay, we'll put printing, it won't be much printing. And buy as much vegetable food as we can afford. How fancy it is, that's how many sponsors we get. Does that pretty much answer your question? Okay.
May I just add one thing? As to the why, you know, our school districts are sound. You know, we have such good school districts, such good teachers. We work so well with administrators. In my career, I've been at 5 different school districts around the suburbs, and not because I can't hold a job, I just kind of moved it up a little bit. There are students that graduate from other school districts that have better opportunities than some of what we're giving our students right now in terms of the science, technology, engineering, mathematics. You know, when they go to Ivy League schools on the application, it's what research have you done, not have you done research. You know, who have you worked with from universities? So those kind of things are what we need to provide for our students. So yes, we have great schools. Yes, our test scores are doing quite well. Yes, we have great AP commitment. Yes, 80+% of our students take science, you know, with only 2 requirements. But Karen and I, you know, since we've been talking for the last year, since we met each other, it's what can we do to help broaden those experiences. Another thing that this will do is all school districts will be managing how to incorporate the next generation science standards. And when we use that phrase, that's science's common core. If you've heard of math and English language arts, next generation science standards is what we need to address, and these are what we're going to have to do. The STEM initiative provides because in that next generation science standards, we have to have engineering and technology components across all of our science classes. You know, whether it's not just, what we're talking here is not just the top end student. When you hear STEM programs and quality STEM programs, it's STEM for all. It's no longer the elite just moving up. Yes, we do need to provide opportunities for them, but it's the B, C students, the kids that may be struggling. We have to provide ways for them to learn science and be members of society that can give back based on what they leave our schools with. And this is a way to do that authentically.
Any other townships in the state?
Frankly, I don't know. Yeah, you don't look at it now, but I don't know.
This is your idea, or?
Well, it's kind of dangerous to say, probably so.
So you're not aware of any experience another township might have that we could look to and see?
No, but I'm more than happy to use Google to find other townships to do similar things. But in all honesty, sort of the peer jury program is something that made me think about this. The townships are already doing things in different arenas, which aren't necessarily that different. So this isn't really all that new. It's just taking things you're already doing and moving into an area you may not have done before. I took parenting classes here a while ago. It worked. But then, so the thing is that it's just, what really made me think about townships was just geography. Frankly, I mean, I'm not aware of another governmental agency at what level could do this. So whether he did it before or not, I don't know who else can. Because, and that's just geography. And even the individual school district really can't take the lead, because then there's hierarchy amongst the school districts. The county, well, they do, but they, the building legislator's office helps with a lot of these programs, and they love helping these programs. And again, I repeat, she told us, she's very enthusiastic about this. She thinks it's a great idea. And they help programs all over, but they don't have a county-wide one. They probably couldn't. It's beyond what they can do. So I know the county has the township has social service programs, there are other things that they do, and it's at the right level. Because there's some things which towns and villages ought to do. There's some things the county ought to do. There's some things the state ought to do. There's some things only the federal government can do. And there's some things that are just right sized for the township. And so, and we might go a little bit outside, not, but basically, essentially, it's just right sized for the township. And that's what made me think of the township. That the township is at the right level to undertake a project like this. Not too big, not too small, but just a Goldilocks area, use it everywhere. So that's so that's really why it's more I thought the township fits the need. Because I've been thinking, who could do this? I thought about this in the fall. I thought Ms. Blow about this back in September. Last summer, we got to do something like this. And it's like, well, who can sponsor it? Well, the township is the right size. It's just not. And it may be outside what you've done before, but we're not asking for a lot.
In terms of a timeline, if we get on board and become a sponsor and we participate in the conference and so on, what's next? What's follow?
What we would do is we would, first of all, I would work with, along with Mr. Anderson and the leaders, we'll work with I start with District 99, and then we reach out to District 86 to create steering committee of educators. Who that would be the people who would vet the content and determine who the speakers are. We look for a room, get a keynote speaker. We would probably come to the township, find one of the marvelous staff people to help us, send emails, on the township stationery also. They're just saying, we're going to be doing this, we're looking for a date, and we have some dates in mid-November. And then invite people to come. And then we would develop it, and then actually one of the first things we do is talk to people at the regional organization and say, give us some guidance. So everything will be done with maximum cooperation and collaboration.
So say that's very successful, we've got all of us on board, what happens after that?
Okay, then in November, let's say hypothetically we use our permanent high school, just hypothetically. I would envision the science chairs from the area high schools and the curriculum directors from all the elementary districts and some other people would come to the auditorium, talk a little bit at breakfast, and then hear a locally brief keynote speech, and then talk about two areas, well, a lot of different areas, but one, how high schools can facilitate elementary students being ready for high school. Talk about how TCD and College of UK, DeVry, other places can integrate so that we're ready to send our students out there. How we can bring technology and engineering, the T and E of STEM, into the curriculum. So we're not talking about multiple choice tests, we're not talking about standardized tests, we're not talking about fill in the blank, we're talking about having our students make things. What Mr. Hines started talking about is under the next generation science standards, see, this is stuff that I think most people don't know this yet. But students are going to have to make, are going to be required to make things like thermos bottles in science class, in high school. That's going to be a requirement that they make it, and no one knows how to do that yet, because that's not what the teachers have been teaching. But the federal government's saying that's what you're going to do. So we're going to have to, it's actually not quite a bad thing, because we don't make enough in this country. They spend too much time moving money around on Wall Street, not enough time building things. That's what we have to start building things again. And we need people who know how to build things. We got to teach them in school how to do that. So anyway, I'm going to move on a little bit. But then basically, so we talked about where there have been other places in the country where the curriculum has come to include making things, in addition to reading a book and marking down answers on a test. We actually make things with your hands that take scientific skill, engineering skill. Part of a major component on our draft agenda is a discussion of how the township can help. We would like a township representative, or more, one or more, however many you're comfortable with, to talk to the various educators, to kick back and forth brainstorm on what's feasible and what's not feasible. We don't want to ask you anything you can't do. We don't want to run anything that overcommits you. But by talking back and forth, opportunities may develop, or well, that's not too hard for us, that's really going to help you. We can do that. And if we find them, then we run with those. If we don't find them, we don't. We've got to have to see what works out. But it's an opportunity for the township to engage all of the school districts in the township to not only talk to each other, but determine if they have any suggestions on what, because, for example, a tutoring program, which I talked about earlier, with the juniors and seniors, could be run at local libraries over the summer. And then, and I think, finding out and sponsor, not, that's where we start getting more speculative, but that's not what we're doing now. We're talking about what might work going forward.
Would we look for grant money? Would that be our responsibility as a township to try to get grants for whatever?
Potentially, but not necessarily. I mean, the township would serve as a focal point to doing that. Wouldn't necessarily have to. I know that grant money is very prevalent in this field. The Gates Foundation gets lots of money, this kind of stuff. There's some really big dollars out there if you have a sufficiently innovative program. How to get the people that have the skill to properly write grant requests. That's what my brother does at IIT, actually. This is he writes a lot of grant requests in the Department of Energy. But getting the right people who know how to write grant requests can be tricky. And how we work that out would have to be worked out. But if the township was willing and wanted to, that'd be wonderful. If they thought it was more than paying up more than you can chew, we accept that. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. That's just a matter of what how the process develops. But there is a lot of money out there from philanthropic foundations, private corporations that want to push this kind of stuff. There's a lot of opportunity. And exactly how to do it, don't know yet.
Hey, Frank, do you have that sample?
I'd have to check into that, but we possibly could free up, part-time person in the services.
Or does Jason sit on your deal with schools or?
Well, in the downtime, which is summertime, when we're doing our reviews of programs that we're going to do in the following year, we could do something like this. But on an ongoing thing, I'm not sure that we would have the staff.
So probably expensive for the conference, but if there was an ongoing thing.
Maybe not. Something they have to look into.
What we might be able to do is to move further is if we found a funding source to add staff, I assume that would work. If we found an outside funding source for additional staff. But that's a discussion for January, not for now.
If you can indulge me for a few minutes, if you look at any of the not-for-profit organizations throughout the community, for example, the Rotary Club in Downers Grove has a program called RAMS. It's Rotary Assisting Middle School Students within District 58. One of the things that, some of your not-for-profit organizations, whether it be the Lions Club or Rotary, they have different grant, programs within their organization. Some of the people that live within our township, the same district you're talking about, actually probably know how to write grants, and that's something they do all the time. which would also, you know, you could turn around and get, obviously, you get grant money from some of your not-for-profits. You can also, some of your not-for-profits like the Rotary Club Downers Grove, Woodridge, Hinsdale, I'm sure a lot of these places also, in their working year, donate money for scholarships. So you can approach these, you know, not-for-profits and say, hey, instead of, you know, giving 6 scholarships this year, maybe you can give 4 scholarships, and the money you would earmark for those other 2 to donate it to this program, knowing that, you know, going toward this. You've got a lot of resources in here. Granted, you can leverage it and piggyback it off the township, but I think there's a lot of, you've got a cash cow sitting right here in your backyard that you're not thinking about.
Well, I think that's exactly right, and so the point is that it's not looking to the township for resources, it's looking to the township to help coordinate and put together the resources that are out there that just are disconnected and disorganized.
I'm also here as a private citizen, but you are, excuse me, the chair of the school board for the district where I live. What did your board think of this concept when you presented it to them?
Well, it's not a board presentation.
I understand that, but you are the chair of a board, and I'm curious as to what your board thought of
I don't
this.
know yet. I know that Dr. McDonald is very supportive.
Okay, but
Yeah,
you have not discussed it with the full board.
right, because this isn't a board initiative, right?
Why wouldn't it be? Why would you not make it a board initiative? I just don't really
Because
understand.
why the township has to sponsor it rather than the individual school districts.
Mm-hmm.
To give us a 99 initiative, are we then higher than 86? Are we higher than 58 or 66? By having it being a township initiative, meaning I'm for 99, I'm the president of 99, but 99 would come to the conference equal with 86, equal with Westland High School, okay? If it was a 99 board initiative, well, it's our idea. And the idea is that's why the township is an overlay governmental agency, is the appropriate agency, because then the township will deal with all of the school districts as equals.
Okay, can I follow up?
Yeah, go ahead.
With respect to you in your position, your role as president of the 99 board, it's my understanding that the IASB recommends a board self-assessment annually. When's the last time you've done one of those?
I don't know what that's relevant to what we're talking about this evening.
I'm just inquiring, as a resident of the district, if you have done the recommended board self-assessment any time in even the last 2 years.
I think right now it's scheduled for September.
Mhm.
That's right. It's scheduled for September.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions from the?
Okay, yeah.
Do we have to make a decision tonight,
No, we don't. I actually asked them to do the presentation in September, and they wanted to put the pressure on Kathy to do it tonight. And I thought we would do it tonight. That's a great idea, and we'd probably vote on it in September. And I think that gives us plenty of time. Does it not, Mr. White?
I think, because we can go forward with a lot of better planning, which will.
I'd like to do more thinking about it. I think the project is tailored for neighborhood development. I really do. But I'd like to learn a little bit more about it. I'd like to have a couple more conversations with you about money, staff, that sort of thing. I'd like to get a few more details about the cost. I'm concerned about the cost. I know you're saying it's not too much now, but once we take on the obligation, I want to find out something that's written down the line.
I don't want to be giving you a bill. I don't want to do that.
And I think, you did a nice job tonight. It's a good presentation. But you convinced me the first time we talked that I really think this is tailored for township. I agree with you.
Is there anything that you might suggest we look into that would give us a better sense of what we'd be getting into?
Well, we can start actually doing draft agendas. We can work on a budget. Like I said, it's going to be, option A, something done with coffee. Option B, bagels, so we can look at that. So we can actually put some hard numbers down, or not entirely hard, but reasonably hard. I'd be flabbergasted if we were $1,000. It'd be quite good. Well, maybe. And again, the whole plan is that we would be responsible for finding outside sponsors, outside donors, outside agencies to cover the expenses.
What are your thoughts, man?
Well, I think it sounds, like you said, tailored to township government. I think the staff time, it sounds like, in a period of where Jason or whomever is not very busy, or that's probably that's too harsh, but where he's not as busy as he is throughout the rest of the year. And I think it's a great way to, at least, from what I understand from the conversation, is we want a conference that brings everyone together so we can kind of brainstorm what we can do STEM-wise throughout the country. And then end state could be anything from this touring program, or it could be a center where people go to do STEM education or whatever to help pour resources across the country. And so we don't know what that end state is because we haven't talked yet. And this is an opportunity to get us all to talk. And so whatever that ideal end state coming out of that talking is could involve deeper township commitment, but that's an option for us, or it could not. And so it seems to me a relatively low investment in commitment from the township to do something that's bigger.
That's pretty much exactly what I think.
No, I agree. Many years ago, almost every high school district had industrial arts programs.
Sure.
Some very substantial. You could learn to weld, they had foundries and printing. I was a journeyman printer in high school. And for some reason, if it was society or what, those programs were eliminated little by little. And now, I'm looking at you trying to play catch-up. If you want these programs that were available in high school, you actually have to take the next step and go to College of DuPage, where those programs are, and some of them don't match what we used to get in high school.
And I agree with you. I took industrial technology instead of Spanish in high school and built a windmill. That's why I have a passion for it. But it's with the technology that we have today, the TCD, the Technical Center of DuPage, will cover your auto mechanics and your cosmetology. When we talk about STEM, it's trying to somehow get kids, whether they have an e-mentor where they go out to colleges and universities, so you're use their research equipment, or somehow procuring some high-end equipment for them. It's getting the state-of-the-art equipment with 21st century learning skills to kids. It's a little bit different than what you would envision would be industrial technology of the past. You know, that's still necessary, you know, but like Mr. White said earlier, to run a machine shop nowadays, you almost need a physics degree.